What's up, y'all? Rob here, Square Wheels. This is part 2 of the Infinity Q50's LightingTrendz Flow Series Day Running Light Kit installation. And first off, thank you for the support. There was really an outpouring of support in the comments on that first video of everyone that's really feeling empowered to go ahead and do this. Shout out specifically to Carl24. He's got his bumper off and his headlights out right now, probably waiting for this video. So again, thank you to everybody who's feeling empowered and taking the steps and doing this themselves. It's not rocket science, y'all. You just got to have the information, and I'm putting it out there. If you haven't seen part 1, you're jumping ahead a little bit. In that video, I cover the headlight removal, what you need to do to open and paint the components, a detailed overview of the kit from LightingTrendz, and then a detailed installation of all of the Flow Series crescent and eyebrow components in your headlights themselves. So if you haven't seen that, first go like and subscribe because it's free. Why wouldn't you? And then go check out that video. Once you check that out, then you'll be ready for part 2. I'm already guaranteeing there's going to be a part 3 because I've already got the parts on order for etched lenses, for sequentials, for startup animations. I'm going to install the BlueGhozt controller, so a brand new controller. So I'm diving in head first to this whole headlight retrofit world. Sharing all the info as I learn it, just to kind of take the mask of this being super special, only pro installers can do it. This isn't rocket science. It's all just cheap little LEDs. Okay, so let's get to the meat of this specific video. So in this video, I'm really just going to be wrapping up the phase 1 installation, right? So at the end of that part 1 video, you had all your components installed, and you're probably sealing up your headlight, and I'm going to take you through it from here. Alright, so after you got all the components installed, I'm guessing you probably just reversed all your steps, you got all the screws back in. What you need to do is run all the wires from the LightingTrendz Day Running Light Kit out through that hole in the back of your headlight. Now, I've seen some other people actually drill into the actual headlight enclosure itself and pass the wires through that way, but I don't know, that makes me a little nervous. I like to leave the headlight as stock as possible. So what I did was just drill the little plastic cap that screws onto the back of the headlight, and I ran the wires through that. And then just to make sure that's completely weatherproof, I used a hot glue gun and just surrounded those wires completely. So now if I ever need to take this back to stock, I can just remove all the componentry, I can get a new cap and just screw it into the old spot, and it'll be like nothing ever happened on my headlights. Once that's all done, the only thing left to do really is install the headlights right in the same spots that you took them out of. Make sure that your wiring for the daytime running light kit isn't getting kinked or pinched under anything. So I ran it right through the back of the headlight, and then ran it towards the passenger side of the engine compartment, right in the... For the wires that came out of the headlight, I pulled them towards the front so they were staying as far away from the heat of the engine bay, and I zip tied them to that metal bar that's right above the radiator. So I'm feeling really secure that they're going to be watertight, and they're also going to be pretty far away from the heat, so it should be pretty good long term. Here I am on the passenger side, just doing the same thing, just reinstalling the headlight in the same spot that it came out of, and running the wires straight to back towards the battery box. So while I ran around with my micrometer, and I tested literally every fuse location. So these 3 here are actually day run light fuse, but all of them have a constant 12 volt signal. So obviously I can't have a constant signal powering my day running lights or they'll never turn off. So none of these were appropriate options. I feel like these may be good to keep in mind when I switch over to the BlueGhozt controller next. So the next thing I tried was the other fuse box on the passenger side. It's a much smaller fuse box right by the battery, and once I found the little spot in the relay, I tested it actually wiring the day running lights, and I could see that it was switched power. So let me show you exactly where it was. So right here by the battery, there's this tiny little fuse box, and it only has one little kind of relay in there. So all you have to do is pull the cap off of it, and that'll expose the relay here. Now, I ran the micrometer through all of the ports in this relay, and there's only one spot that is confirmed to be a switch spot that only gets power when the ignition is on. So you can pull here, there's a little plastic tab that holds it to a metal tab, and that'll give you a bit more wiggle room. And since I already have this wire run in here, it's a little tight, so I'm prying it up with a screwdriver, but you should be able to just push the tab in and pull the relay straight up, and that'll get you access to all the ports in here. Alright, here we go. So now that the top is popped, you can see exactly the port that I wired this 12V power switch to. It's going to be the bottom left one. If you're looking at it from right as you pull the fuse box out. Once you run your wire in there, just make sure it's making connection with the port, and then obviously once you put the relay back on top of it, it should make a good solid connection. But once you do this, definitely go ahead and test and make sure that you're getting power only when the vehicle is switched on, because you don't want to wrap all this back up and realize that you don't have a good connection. Another little tip, to make sure that I wasn't pinching the cable, I just carved out a little bit of this plastic cap just to make sure that it had enough breathing room, so that when I put it back on top, it's not crimping the cable and exposing any raw wire. So if you'll excuse this crude drawing, this just shows exactly how I wired and how I positioned everything in the engine bay. So those dashed wires are all the wires from the LightingTrendz kit. Those 3 units are the 3 units that I showed you in part 1 that make up the kit. And I'm just showing you, skip the first fuse box, go to that fuse box that's right by the battery, and that's where you're going to want to tap your power. From this point on, you're just kind of reassembling your car, putting everything back, where it was. So all the components are sitting right here behind the passenger side headlight. So the step down, the control unit, as well as the Bluetooth controller are all in this area here. And what I did, just because I tend to be paranoid, is bundle everything up in one bundle, including any of those connectors that come out of the control unit that aren't connected to anything. I had 2 extra connectors free. Make sure you put them, well, you don't have to do it, but I put them in a plastic bag, and I zip tie the plastic bag just to make sure that they were completely protected from any moisture. I left the step down converter, I left the power supply out in the open because it looked like it was already waterproofed, and I didn't want to affect any of the heat dissipation from the heatsink, so I left that just sitting there. But everything else I put in this plastic bag, and I zip tied it. Then, to make sure that this thing isn't bouncing around in my engine bay, I also zip tied it right to the frame to keep it nice and secure. It's also right behind the airbox, so it should be pretty far away from any heat that's going to do any damage to it. After that, again, we're just kind of putting things all back together. We're getting to a point where we can start testing this out. Alright, I've got everything buttoned up. The LED day running lights only turn on when I have the car in accessory mode or I have the ignition on. So what I'm doing now is opening up the LEDHue app, and I'm going to give you a quick demo of it. So when you open up the app, you're immediately going to see all the Bluetooth devices in the area. You're going to select the one for your Bluetooth controller for your headlights, which is the SP110E. And that will open you right up into the interface where you can start choosing colors and animations. That's pretty much all there is to it. I won't walk you through every single animation because I did a separate video on that. I'll link it up here, around here somewhere. So go check that out so you can see all the animation and all the color options that are available with this kit. That's about it. Thank you for checking out the video. If it added value for you, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, helps the momentum keep on going. Thank you for the support. More coming, so sit tight. Thanks so much, y'all.